Yeah, here in North Dakota, we definitely are regretting our votes for Grandpa Tariff. Well, yeah, me and my husband run a seed farm up here, and Daddy runs a soybean farm. And the tariffs are hitting North Dakota harder than almost any other state. Yeah, we're really concerned about it. Last time Trump was president, we had to get a bailout, and we were hoping that this time it would be better, but I'm not seeing any signs that we're gonna get spared this time around either. We had to pick up a couple pieces of steel in West Fargo yesterday, and we asked them if the tariffs had been affecting the prices yet, and they said just talking about the tariffs affects the price. You know, China will start going to Brazil and Africa for their soybeans, and then they'll establish relationships and we'll get completely cut out of the loop. Trump says it's short-term pain for long-term gain. So far in my life, I've never seen the tariffs do any gain for any of us farmers here in North Dakota. I'm not really even sure why we voted for him.
U.S. farmers are starting to regret their vote for Trump. From beekeepers to soybean to hay producers, all of them are starting to say, I never thought that voting for Trump 3 times would result in me losing tens of thousands of dollars. A beekeeper out of North Carolina says, yeah, I proudly voted for Trump all 3 times. I flew flags for him and put signs for him in the yard. But now I'm out tens of thousands of dollars due to lost federal funding and tariffs, so I cannot export my products, my honey and my wax, to other countries like I could before, and nobody's buying it in the United States. Hay producers in Idaho and Utah that export alfalfa hay to China are now seeing 135% tariffs put on their product, and all of a sudden, they don't have anywhere to ship it. They held it all winter in hopes of sending it off to China in the spring, and now China's not willing to buy. Soybean producers are once again being hit harder than they were in the first Trump administration, and China, for its part, has diversified where it pulls these products from, with Brazil becoming the #1 soybean exporter, and other countries picking up the slack for honey, for beeswax, and for hay around the world. Now, China's doing a great job diversifying, and the United States has relied on exports to China for so long that its farmers are going to just continue to suffer. Once again, the majority of them voted for Trump.
I wanted to start off by saying I did vote for Donald Trump. We are possibly going to lose our farm if NRCS doesn't hold up their contract with us on the EQIP program. So the reason that they're not able to hold up the contract is our EQIP program, which is cost sharing on fences, waters, a well, and some seedings, was funded by the Inflation Reduction Act. Because of the executive orders, there's a pause or a freeze on the funding through the Inflation Reduction Act, and they're not able to pay out on the stuff that we completed or anything going forward. I'm not the only one this is affecting. So there are other farmers in the comments saying that they're in the same boat that I'm in because they signed these contracts, and the contracts, even like, so whenever I looked into the contract, I made sure that that funding was set aside. It wasn't funding that, oh, we hope it's there whenever it's done. I made sure that that funding was set aside, so that way before I made these business decisions, I knew that funding was there per contract. So they're backing out on the contract because they don't have the funding. They can't release the funds.
And now they're finding out.
Well, it's official. The United States Senate is dead. Last night, the U.S. Senate announced to the world that they are no longer an independent legislative body. They announced to the world that they are nothing but an appendage of the Trump White House. Nothing but a rubber stamp for whatever the hell he wants to do. Because last night they voted to confirm Pete Hegseth as Secretary of Defense. A guy who is the single most unqualified Secretary of Defense in our nation's history. And not only is he unqualified in terms of his lack of relevant professional experience, but he is also disqualified because of his loathsome personal behavior and horrendous character. This is a really bad guy. And it is exceedingly dangerous to put this man in charge of the Department of Defense. But these senators on the Republican side, except for 3, all voted to confirm this man, who they all know has no business being Secretary of Defense. And they did it for one reason, because they are cowards. They are afraid to do what is right because they are afraid of Donald Trump. They are afraid that Donald Trump can end their political career with a single tweet if they get on his bad side. Because the base of the Republican Party is a cult in service of one man, Donald Trump. And if they don't do what he wants, they know that their career could be over in a second.
There's a whole lot of white people who are now upset that they voted for Trump. So I just want to point out this lesson and thing we do in the black community where we say all skin folk and kin folk. Y'all voted for that man because he's white and you didn't want to see a black woman become the president. And now you see all skin folk ain't kin folk. I don't feel sorry for y'all at all.
MAGA, you do realize that the Republican Party, including Donald Trump, are using you. You see, as a Democrat, we've been used as well. For the past 60 years, the Democratic Party has used black people to push their liberal agenda. Now, that is me saying that I agree with you in principle, but I disagree with you when you vote against your own interests, and you see the results of your actions that you took this past November at the ballot box. You see that what is happening in Texas, it's not an anomaly. That is something that happened because of the failures of politicians that put money first. You see, children are dead. It doesn't matter the color of the children. Children are dead. And they are dead because of racism, hatred, and bigotry. They are dead because white folks voted against their own interests. They voted to gut programs that helps them out. Go figure. You see, both political parties, both, and this is coming from a Democrat, both of them has taken advantage of the poor and the indigent people. They are going to cause you to fight your brothers and sisters in the streets of this country, shed blood. The elites are. They are setting everything in motion, upsetting you, putting you in a place that you're going to have to make a decision here shortly to kill your brothers and your sisters, all while fighting against your best interests. You guys have a nice day.
Well, I did it again, damn it. Went down that damn rabbit hole, and it was fun. Because I strolled down this hole of farmers that are mad because they're about to lose their farm. Because that federal grant money hasn't shown up yet. And they don't know what to do. And all of them crying. But damn it, in every freaking video, all of them, and I mean all of them, except for maybe one or two, all of them voted for Trump. So why are you complaining is my question. You voted for this. You asked for this stupidity. You complaining that you're about to lose your farm because you voted for a man who told you what he was going to do. But that's your freaking fault. Because you voted for your whiteness instead of voting your heart. Because you didn't want to see that black lady in office. So you voted for that white man. And you knew he was a crook. You knew he was a thief. You knew he was going to do all the dumb shit. Because you've seen it before. But you mad because you're about to lose your farm. Some of them crying. This land been in my family forever. Yeah. Because it was given to you a long, long time ago. And I ain't crying. And I ain't mad. And I don't care. Because that's what you get for voting for your whiteness. You voted for your whiteness instead of voting for the proper person that you knew was good for that job. But you wanted that man in office that bad. You didn't want her in office. You can't say you voted for the lesser of two evils. You voted his color, not his character. And before we get off of this, y'all know what to do. Hit the heart, share the video, do what we do. This TikTok, baby. You knew better, but you did it. See, this land that y'all got for free, that's been passed down through the generations, that we didn't get our 40 acres of the mule. So why are we going to be mad because you about to lose yours? This is by design. All of those corporations are buying up farmland across the freaking country. This is on purpose. But you've yet to realize that. Kamala had you saved. The money was appropriated. It was there. But you had to vote for Trump. You knew what he was. You knew what kind of guy he is. But you voted your color. And you thought you was going to get that privilege. But now you understand. If you ain't worth 7, 8 figures, he don't give a shit about you. Or your cousin, or your sister, your auntie. Nobody. Now you look like me to him. Because you ain't got it like that. So, I'm sorry you about to lose your land. But I really don't give a damn. Because you knew better. All of you. But you wanted to vote for your privilege and your color instead of who was deserving and who was better. So blame yourself. Blame your neighbor. Blame the people down the street. It ain't our fault. It's on you.
I know you told me you voted for President Trump. What were you hoping that he would do?
I was hoping he would do something that made sense regarding the economy, made some kind of progress in bettering, the benefits of being a veteran.
Pray tell, what exactly were the plans that he had said he was going to put in place that had you so excited that he was going to take care of veterans? What was the indication he gave you from his first presidency? Particularly when in 2017, he froze federal agencies which affected the VA for 79 days. What was the reason? To reduce government agencies through attrition, to make the government leaner and more efficient. That's it. No plan. Literally, remove workers and do not replace. Exactly how does that get you your benefits when there's no one there to help you? Not to mention his privatization push, which basically made VA care lower quality, fragmented, and weaker overall. Trump actually downplayed the severity of combat troops' TBIs, traumatic brain injuries that they suffered from, calling them headaches. And finally, something that you guys seem to be totally blind towards accepting is him calling fallen soldiers suckers and losers, to include prisoners of war like Senator John McCain. May he rest. Why do you think this man gives a fuck about you as a veteran? He has given no indication, in fact, the opposite, that he cares about veterans or doing anything for them.
I mean, it just seemed like he actually cared about doing what was best for the country, but now it just feels like all about me, Donald Trump, not...
Where have you been?
The guy out there working in the trenches, trying to make ends meet, trying to pay a mortgage, trying to pay the bills. it goes against everything I expected when, I voted for him.
So you're not satisfied with what you see?
No. And it doesn't even have to do with anything about me getting fired. I mean, if I had gotten fired as part of the, government, cutting government spending, I would have been fine with that. I can accept that.
Liar, liar, pants on fire, my little Pinocchio.
But he's not delivering on anything he said he was going to do.
What policies? Tell us. What specific policies were you so excited about? Because I don't remember a damn one that he proposed that made any fucking sense. You're not off the hook.
So what's your real game plan? It doesn't make sense to me.
There are some things that he promised to do that he has put in place. I mean, there are executive orders that he's done, that he said that he was going to do. You don't feel like he's lived up to those promises?
I mean, where are the results? I mean, seriously, prices are still going up.
I'm going to say this once more because people don't seem to understand. Number one, the president is not the single biggest factor that affects global and national prices. There are other factors. That is just one. Secondly, your inability to understand why prices go up and down goes to show that you don't fucking get why Donald Trump is terrible when it comes to the economy. He's terrible when it comes to everything, but one disaster at a time.
We're now in the middle of a tariff war with a bunch of countries that used to be our steadfast allies. I mean, how do you make an enemy of Canada? They're right next to us, and they've been one of our premier allies and commerce partners for, seriously, centuries now?
And he did say that he was going to put tariffs in place. Did you just not think that they would be implemented in this particular way?
I didn't think they were going to be put in play in a juvenile way.
I think you could have just stopped at, I didn't think.
I mean, where was the attempt to actually talk to the heads of these other countries? Like, hey, I feel you have unfair tariffs against our products. I'd like to talk about it first. And if we can't work out some kind of resolution, then I feel to protect our people, we need to implement this kind of tariff. There was no attempt at even talking to the other countries.
When has he ever played nice with anyone ever? In his last presidency or outside of it? During his campaigns? When has he ever played nice? When has he ever been professional? Name one instance. I can't with these people. Y'all made your bed. Now you can lie in it.
These Democrats really are in a panic over this Texas redistricting line drawing thing that is going on right now. There's a special session. The Texas legislature has been called back in so that this issue can be addressed because they have been padding the voter rolls for years and they know they've been doing it. The liberals, the Democrats, are so unpopular. There is no way they could win an election with their far leftist ideology. No way. No way. So they're padding the voter rolls. That's what they've been doing, and they've gotten used to it. And it's being threatened now because of the redistricting and redrawing these lines, and perhaps even redoing a census at 5 years instead of waiting the 10 years, because it's so bad and so much fraud has been found that it is time to address this and not let it sit and fester and become a cancer like it has been. That's how these incapable, stupid people keep getting reinstalled into these positions. They don't know their job. All they do is steal our money and make themselves rich while their constituents suffer. So this is why Jasmine Crockett in the 30th District in Texas is panicking. This is why she's been called in. Raphael Warnock, who is starting this John Lewis Voting Rights Act, or John R. Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act. It's really stupid. John Lewis was a porch Negro who danced on the plantation for massa, and nobody misses him. Bye. Burning in hell, asshole. And now you've got Raphael Warnock, this fake ass preacher who has he's supposedly over the Ebenezer Baptist Church. Which, shut up, go somewhere. You are an apostate. You don't represent God. You sold something that doesn't belong to you, which is the soul that God gave you when you were at inception. So whatever, you sold your soul to the devil, and now you're up here at this so-called event trying to tell people. Do you know he's saying shit like this? Go look at it under he posted it on X, and it's like 42 minutes. I had to skip through it because I can't listen to 40 minutes of Raphael Warnock, this chump and this loser, tap dancing for massa on that porch. I can't listen to him. He talks about the Medicaid and how, oh, they're taking away your Medicaid, not mentioning Joe Biden kicking millions of people off Medicaid back in 2022, 2023 during.
Hello guys, my name is Golden Boy, and I'm really happy that you guys are actually watching the deportation disaster. Trump voters are regretting, and they are also revealing how they actually regret voting for Donald Trump in the election 2024. Now, I want to talk about these white farmers because this is actually a new thing. This is not even actually a new thing. The white MAGAs are actually regretting voting for Donald Trump because there are losses in the farmers. There are stalls. Most of their farms are actually stalling. Others farms are actually drying up because the Trump policy that introduced of illegal immigration, the labor force are reduced because a majority of them were actually deported back at home. Now, this has actually affected the white farmers. Now, what does this mean that God of Black has actually answered their prayer? Is because the prayers the Black Americans have actually been praying for the longest time because of the triggers, because of the systematic racism, the system that has always been against the Black people, is finally working out, and the white people are actually realizing, oh, yeah, the president we actually voted for is actually not actually the one. Now, this actually has come with a lot of regret because some of the white MAGAs are actually confessing their prayers and even their situation right now because they are unable to put food in their table. Others are unable to even pay their rent. The bills are actually high. The farms are actually drying. The money is actually not there in the economy cycle. So this is the reason why I'm saying that God of Black has actually answered the white farmers, has actually answered the blacks, and is actually showing the white people that actually the Black God is actually the real one. But who knows again, when are these people going to stop this systematic racism, voting against the people that they know that is actually not going to work? Hey,